be honest, who is still absolutely bouncing off of what we witnessed last night. I don't even know how to describe my thoughts and feelings regarding everything there. That was an absolutely insane game, and to win it the way that we did, unbelievable, Jeff. Unbelievable. We've scored late winners in the past. We've come back from games in the death. We've lost games at the end as well. We were in complete control at 2-0, and then, and effectively threw it away against 10 men, 4-2. Fell apart, and then, in the last period of injury time, to go on, not just to take it to penalties, but then to win it as well with 3 goals in the last 6 minutes is absolutely insane to me. It's one of the most Manchester United things I think I've witnessed for a very, very long time. It had kind of, it's not as important, so I don't want to draw too much comparison, but it genuinely, for me, had 99 vibes, because the disappointment, the anger, the notes that I had written to, do a video this morning and a review were not very kind, to say the least. We never make things easy for ourselves. And if we're going to salvage something this season, my God, we're going to do it by the skin on our fingernails and clawing our way through games, which, I'm still absolutely buzzing about it. I still need to settle down. Literally woke up this morning, before my eyes even fully open, I had the Ruben Amorim song stuck in my head, and long may that continue for the rest of the weekend, hopefully. To summarize what I thought about the game, and let me know what you feel in the comments below, right? But, we lost a game that we should have won, to then go on to win a game that we should have lost, is one of the most Manchester United things I've ever seen. Absolutely buzzing because of the result. It doesn't matter anything else for me. We just need to win the Europa League, and by hook or by crook, it doesn't matter how we do it. Like I said, we're going to do it by the skin of our fingernails, by the looks of things. But that's the most important thing. But love your thoughts, love your your input, and let's know what you thought about the match last night, how you're feeling today regarding it as well, and smash a like on the video if you were absolutely buzzing when Maguire got that last kind of minute winner. Absolutely insane. But yeah, give us your thoughts on the match below. Now, Christopher Vivell has returned from a scouting mission to Germany, but who does he have his eye on? David Ornstein has given key updates on United's striker targets, with Sesko, Simmons and Cherki all linked, and he's given an update on midfielders, and we've got news on Ederson and a potential double championship deal. There's news on the summer budget and all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name is Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's run through the news. So, got a lot to catch up on because I was away yesterday. I was at work, and it was also my stepdaughter's birthday, so I couldn't do anything yesterday. So apologies. So firstly, let's go through some quotes that I actually thought were quite telling from Ruben Amorim after the game last night, where he said, "We can be good in European matches, but the league reflects the team and the coach, and we are not up to it." He also said, "We lack a lot of team characteristics. When we play against European teams, we do better, but in the Premier League, we suffer a lot." And this is in the interview after the game that he was doing with Scholes and Ferdinand. Actually, one of the things that I picked up on that he was saying, he does not have the profile of players necessarily to compete with Premier League teams. And that's why there's a reflection on that in obviously our league position, whereas in European football is different because European teams don't necessarily have the profile of players of Premier Leagues as well. So I think he was talking a lot about what players 1v1, physicality, intensity, pace, all of that stuff. And that is a massive profile that we are missing from the club, which I thought was a bit of a tell for maybe what might be coming for the transfer window. Intensity is the key word that Romano kept saying as well, but you could see it in the squad, like especially when Garnacho went off. I was worried, where's the threat coming from? There's no pace in the team. There's no creativity. No players that can take somebody on 1v1. And I think we lack that massively in the squad. And that's obviously a tell for what's maybe going to be happening. And hopefully going forward in the sort of profile of players that we mean as well. He did also confirm that he's basically going to play the kids for the rest of the Premier League games as well, which I'm actually buzzing for as well, because he's concentrating solely on the Europa League. But and he did kind of apologise for the fans. He said the fans need to understand that, you know, we're going to have to suffer in the Premier League because we want to win the Europa League, and that means resting all of his players. So you're going to see a lot of youth players in the first team for the Premier League matches as well, which I'm actually more excited about. And then just a bit of a shout out. I've not been any updates this morning, but apparently Victor Lindelof and Mazraoui both had to leave last night. So the reason Mazraoui came off at half time and Luke Shaw came on because Lindelof was warming up at half time to potentially come on. It's because they both had to leave for family emergencies. So hopefully nothing serious. I've not got any more updates than that as well. That came from Samuel Lucas late last night, suggesting that Lindelof and Mazraoui both had to leave for family emergencies at halftime as well, and then that just adds more fuel to the kind of fire around, you know, some of the performances that we kind of got last night, and the fact that we still managed to kind of somehow get through. Insane. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now let's go through. So Manchester United head of recruitment Christopher Vivell was on tour with Germany. Was on a tour of Germany over the weekend, watching Stuttgart and then RB Leipzig. He wanted to get a closer look at Leipzig's young players and is keeping a close eye on striker Benjamin Sesko. Now, that came from Sportbild. Sportbild are actually fairly decent. Like, they're a solid, you know, German news outlet, specifically reliable when it comes to German teams and German news, suggesting that Christopher Vivell is on one of his little scouting missions. In Germany, looking at RB Leipzig and Stuttgart players as well, keeping a close eye on Benjamin Sesko. So Christopher Vivell working his magic. I do think he's going to hopefully unpluck a few hidden gems for us in the transfer window, like a Sekou Kone, Chidobe, those sort of players, you know, Diego Leon. These sort of people have Christopher Vivell's fingerprints all over them as well. So that's interesting that he was kind of, you know, on a bit of a mission in Germany, scouting players specifically mentioned by Sportbild, though. Benjamin Sesko, and obviously David Ornstein's been mentioning Benjamin Sesko as well. So on a Q&A yesterday, David Ornstein had the following to say: I'm not sure at present, but perhaps Man United aren't either. We know Sesko was favoured a year ago, but he is joined by the likes of Delap on their radar this time round. The issue is the leading clubs seeking a striker tend to be looking at the same pool of players, and that pool is not deep. So even if Man United have a leading candidate, it doesn't mean they will get him. So this one was asked on specific striker targets for United, again suggesting Sesko and Delap. But then also, you know, he's right in what you're saying there. There are a lot of top teams that are interested in strikers, and you could see a bit of a merry-go-round because, you know, Arsenal are in for Sesko, but they're also in for Gyökeres. They're seen as kind of candidates to get Gyökeres, but then I've heard Chelsea might go in for Gyökeres. We still might get Gyökeres if we get Champions League football as a possibility. And then if we don't, do we then go for Delap? But then Chelsea want Delap. Osman's got to pick a club. Do you know what I mean? That, like, there's only so many strikers around, and there's a lot of teams looking for strikers as well. So you could be like a bit of a, okay, well, he's going there, so can we go for him? And then he might go to that club, and then we have to end up with this player. Do you know what I mean? There could be all of that kind of shenanigans going on in the transfer window, which is a fair point from David Ornstein. But again, mentioning Delap and Sesko, it's the second time he's specifically mentioned those players regarding United. So interesting. Keep an eye on it for you. Give us your thoughts in the comments. Just the latest on Liam Delap. Graham Bailey said that Manchester United have made contact with Delap about moving to Old Trafford, although some people within the club are unsure he would be the right fit. It will be interesting to see if they decide to proceed with the idea of signing him in this summer. So, I mean, Graham Bailey's a little bit hitty-missy. Sometimes, you know, can be decent as well. So reportedly saying that we've made contact with Liam Delap, but also suggesting that some people at the club don't necessarily think that he would be the right fit, which is interesting because I know that's probably the same in the comments below. I think there's some people that do want Delap, some people that are a little bit unsure about Delap as well, and obviously there is pros and cons to Liam Delap. I think there's pros and cons there with any striker that we're going to be going for, any specific player that we're going for as well. It's just about, you know, is he plan A, is he plan B, like what kind of, you know, and we're still in that position where we just don't know, obviously, because of last night, what the budget's going to be. Do we get Champions League football? Do we not? You know, there's still hopefully 3 more games to go as well in the Europa League if we can get back past Frankfurt. I just worry about the final with Tottenham now. If Tottenham get through to the final, we don't do well against Premier League teams, do we? And Tottenham have beat us twice this season, so I'd worry about that one. But give us your thoughts on Delap in the comments. Now, Melissa Reddy had the following to say. So Victor Osimhen, Liam Delap and Matheus Cunha are among the players being considered for Ruben Amorim's rebuild. Manchester United ideally want to sign 2 attackers this summer. So Melissa Reddy jumping in on the kind of stories that have been going around over the last couple of days where we're looking at a striker and a number 10. That's not exactly breaking news because we've been discussing that for a while. Interest in Delap, Matheus Cunha are seen probably as the front runners at this moment in time, but then we've had, Osimhen stories, Sesko stories. The fact is nobody knows who our exact targets are at the moment. I don't even think United have settled on what specific targets they're going for. I think they are inquiring about players. I think they're looking at, budgets and can we get player A with player B? Or do we need to go on a different combination? What's the wages? All of this stuff. That's why I think we're getting all these kind of conflicting stories, because I don't think United have actually settled on which targets they want as of yet, because we're not getting that many kind of solid links with players as well. So I think we're still putting the feels out around certain combinations, and obviously that depends on the budget and wages and availability, and Champions League still massively up in the air as well. So keep an eye on that for you. Now, Manchester United are among the clubs circling Ryan Cherki. There is a verbal agreement on a release clause of £25 million to leave Lyon this summer. Now, that came from Nave So, is actually a decent source as well. What did you think of Cherki's performance? I thought he played better last night for Lyon than he did in the first leg. I wasn't overly impressed with him in the first leg, being truthful. But, based on his, I would take him. I thought he was way better than our attackers on the day last night. Yes, he had it hitting. He was in and out of the game. And to be fair, I wasn't really concentrating on him too much because I was foaming with what was going on in the second half specifically. But obviously scored a great goal, had a great run. Knows where to finish. Like if Garnacho could finish even half as good as Cherki could, then we'd have a player on our hands with Garnacho. Not that I don't think we have anyway, but his finishing is nowhere near at the level required for the work and everything else that he kind of does as well. So would you take a £25 million gamble on Ryan Cherki? Give us your thoughts. Is he more as a prospect? Do you think he'll fit the kind of profile we're looking for? Give us your thoughts in the comments below. Now, another player that we've been heavily linked with recently, Xavi Simons. So Manchester United really want Xavi Simons, but would need to win the Europa League to be able to afford a deal for him. Now, that came from Duncan Castle. So again, this might be one that we're kind of looking at, lining up, thinking, well, if we get Champions League, what's transfer list A for Champions League football, transfer list B for non-Champions League, who's available? That's why I think we're getting all these kind of conflicting stories, because we are looking at these players and probably are interested in these players. It's just who can we get, who can we afford, who wants to come as well, all these kind of questions still as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts on the kind of attack news. I've gone through that kind of first around the forwards, the strikers. Give us your thoughts on the kind of stories we've run through there. I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. Let's move on to the midfield. So David Ornstein had the following to say regarding targeting a midfielder this summer. So Man United will, of course, have drawn up lists for all the positions they want to strengthen. But what they are able to do, however, it will depend on many factors, not least finances, and they don't have much clarity as things stand. Obviously, confirming that we need to wait to see what's happening with the Europa League as well. So there are sure to be different targets based on various scenarios. Ugarte was top of their list for number 6 last summer, and they got him. The impending departure of Ederson frees up squad and salary space, while United may hope the same becomes true of Casemiro. They will that will give them room to manoeuvre in such a key position for Ruben Amorim. It will also be interesting to see what happens with Kobe Mainoo. So David Ornstein suggesting that obviously Ederson leaving frees up the space and wage for a midfielder coming in. Also, if they do remove Casemiro, that's a massive chunk of wages saved, and that maybe then can help us kind of go for a midfielder. And then interesting to say that he's interesting to see what happens with Kobe Mainoo. I think all roads are pointing toward Mainoo's new contract, but we're still not signed it yet. So yeah, that is potentially one to keep an eye on. If they can't do a deal, then what do you do with Mainoo in the summer, especially if there's going to be interest from other teams and clubs as well who might be able to offer him more of a salary, considering he's only on 20 grand a week at United as well. So that is definitely one to keep an eye on. But give us your thoughts on midfield. Now, in terms of targets, Manchester United have overcome competition from Manchester City and are now in pole position to sign Ederson. United are serious and making advances to sign him. They have intensified contacts with the player's entourage and hinted their willingness to negotiate with Atalanta, who have set a £51 million asking price. Now, that came from Tutto Atlanta, another Italian outlet, suggesting that Manchester United have moved ahead of Man City to buy Ederson, which I have my question marks around. We're making advances, and it's a very similar story to what was coming out from a couple of Italian outlets the other day as well. So that's interesting to kind of keep an eye on. £51 million for Ederson, though, if we got that sort of cash when we need, striker, 10, midfielder. I mean, we need, loads of positions strengthening, really. But do we have that sort of budget available for Ederson? I have my doubts around that personally, but he's definitely a player we've been linked with for absolutely, coming up 2 years now, I think, Ederson. So he is clearly a player that's liked by the scouts and people at United. It's just, do we have the funds available to get him? And can we actually beat Man City to his signature as well? Two big question marks for me. But Dylan McBennett, who is actually a decent source, saying that Manchester United are interested in a certain 50 million rated Atalanta midfielder Ederson, but contrary to reports, they're yet to have concrete conversations regarding the signing of the player. So that's interesting from Dylan McBennett. Kind of saying that, yes, there's interest in Ederson, but not quite as far as what the Italian reports are kind of saying. So we need to keep an eye on that one. Manchester United are set to sign Chris Rigg and Joe Bellingham this summer. United have been very impressed with Bellingham and believe he's perfect for Amorim's system. Graham Bailey going in early on the links with Joe Bellingham and Chris Rigg, saying potentially we're going to do like a double deal with Sunderland for both of them. And they believe that Bellingham is more of a fit for Amorim's system, but I always find Graham Bailey to be a little bit hit and miss, so I would want to see a bit more credibility, to be truthful, coming from that one. But both players that we have been linked with in the past, both players of interest, so it'll be interesting to see if we do make moves. So then maybe that would be one if we don't get Europa League football, or Champions League football, maybe our budget's reduced, so then we have to go for younger profile of players, because Amorim was saying in a press conference the other day that if we don't get into Europe, we're going to have much more time to train every week as well. So maybe that's the plan, to go for young. If we don't get into Europe, we're going to go for some of the best young players around that are obviously going to be cheaper, because Amorim's going to have more time to coach them and train them on the training pitch between games. Whereas if we do get Champions League, we're obviously going to go for maybe a bit more expensive, experienced players as well, because he's going to have less time to coach them as well. So maybe that's the kind of, things that they're looking for. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And then Manchester United believe there are more suitable options than Jonathan David and Angel Gomez on the free transfer market. Now, that came from the Athletic, very decent source as well, suggesting that United are not in for Angel Gomez and Jonathan David, and the reason being is because they think they think there's better options available on the free transfer market as well, which is really, really interesting. So that was Mark Critchley from The Athletic as well, who is a good source of information. So that might be a bit of a blow for some of you that have been saying around, specifically David. I think David would be an interesting option to bring in for a free transfer and stuff. But apparently, according to The Athletic, no, not likely to happen, because they feel there are more suitable options. Let's move on to the goalkeeper situation. So Manchester United Director of Recruitment Christopher Vivell has spoken to Eintracht Frankfurt CEO Marcus Kroescher about their goalkeeper Sesko Santos and his future plans. Manchester United have been interested in Santos since last autumn. So that's again coming from Sport Bild, obviously with the story around Christopher Vivell doing a bit of a scouting mission in Germany, specifically Frankfurt and RB Leipzig as well. Sesko Santos, 22-year-old, don't know too much about him, not had too much time to do any research on the story because of obviously everything, the match and stuff last night as well. Apparently saying that they've tracked him for months as well. Would he be, someone to come in as the young developmental goalkeeper as a number 2 for Onana? Is he good enough for a number 1? I don't know. I've not done any kind of research. Is it better to get a younger goalkeeper now, a backup or first choice? I have no idea, but I'll bow to your kind of knowledge regarding that in the comments. So give us your thoughts on Santos in the comments. Manchester United have shortlisted 4 goalkeepers this summer to replace Andre Santos, Zion Suzuki, Costa, Verbruggen, and Mike Maignan. That came from Peter Hall, suggesting that they're the 4 goalkeepers that we're kind of potentially looking forward to replace Onana. So they would be the number 1 kind of choices. Alex Crook from TalkSport said a similar thing as well. Manchester United could look to sign 2 goalkeepers in the summer transfer window with Heaton, who is leaving, and possible exit of Onana and Bayinda. Zion Suzuki, Vart Verbruggen, James Trafford, Aaron Ramsdale, Diego Costa, all on the shortlist. So Alex Cook kind of suggested maybe the same names regarding the transfer. Regarding the goalkeeper situation as well, give us your thoughts on those. I would say take that with a pinch of salt, though Alex Crook's not necessarily the most credible as well. Peter Hall can be a little bit hit and miss as well, but it's interesting that 2 different journalists going down the route with the same or similar names on there as well. Aaron Ramsdale, though, Fabrizio Romano the other day said he's not heard anything regarding Aaron Ramsdale, so I would say take that one with a pinch of salt for the moment. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.